Welcome back to another deck tech video where we are breaking down how to make another phenomenal deck in the game where everything can be broken, one way or another. This one is a little different because it is an older commander, which I think is kind of cool. It is Multani Maro-Sorcerer. It is a 6 mana creature where its power and toughness are equal to the total cards in all players' hands. This means that if everyone has 7 cards in hand, then it is a 28/28. This is usually played different than the way I built mine. The way you normally play it is make your hand super big so you can control how big Multani is. However, I built it a little more group huggish. That means your friends can have fun playing the game, but your deck's still functioning the way you want it to. It also means instead of Multani getting a little bit bigger, it gets a lot bigger, because at a certain point, your friends have to draw enough cards to get their hands full. The way we pull this off is with some cards that you're probably familiar with, like Howling Mine, Font of Mythos, and Rites of Flourishing. All of these cards make everyone draw extra cards, allowing you to get the ball rolling. Another one of my favorite cards is Anvil of Bogarden, because this allows your opponents to skip the draw phase, which means that they can now keep piling cards up in their hand and make Multani even bigger. Another one of my favorite cards, and that's because it's kind of just funny, is Grothama All Devouring. It is essentially just a huge worm. Whenever a creature attacks, that player can decide to have their creature also fight Grothama and draw cards equal to the damage dealt to Grothama, which I think is super cool. And of course, it's also unique that you can use it on your own creatures as well and draw cards that way. However, one of my favorite things to do is I always tease my friends with it, so every so often that they attack, I'll just be like, hey, you sure you don't want to fight Grothama? You can draw some cards. So we have covered that this deck is all about drawing cards, and the other important part of Commander is mana. How do we ramp? I don't think I need to spend too much time on this because, well, it's mono green. Just about every good ramp spell is green. That being said, here's some quick mentions. Cultivate, Rampant Growth, 3 Visits, and even Harrow is pretty okay in this deck. So now that we got the housekeeping stuff of mana ramp and card draw out of the way, let's talk about how this deck really wins. And there's really only 2 ways to do that. One is commander damage, and the other is Psychosis Crawler. Psychosis Crawler is a creature that allows you to turn drawing cards into damage, and I promise you that in this deck you will draw enough cards to kill people. The commander damage route has a couple of hoops to jump through, but once you get through them, it's pretty simple. You see, Multani has Shroud, so you can't target or equip it. This means you have to use cards like Brawn, Bellowing Tangleworm, and Siege Behemoth. All 3 of these cards are cards that allow you to have different types of evasion. Brawn gives you Trample for being on the battlefield or graveyard, and yes, Trample is not technically evasion, but it's kind of the same thing. Bellowing Tangleworm gives Intimidate to your other creatures. For those of you who don't know, Intimidate is that it has to be blocked by a creature that shares a color or an artifact creature. Can't be blocked by anything else. And my favorite, Siege Behemoth. Siege Behemoth says that you can assign combat damage as though it wasn't blocked. This card basically tells your opponents, yeah, doesn't matter you blocked, I don't care, I still want to kill you anyway, and it's so good to use because it's basically unstoppable. And to top it all off with the icing on the cake, Multani has Shroud, which, even though it sucks for you, is really good because it means it's really hard to remove as well. Anyway, that should give you a really good idea of how this deck works. As always, there is a full deck list in the description, but I ask that you try to put your own spin on things. If you like this video, consider leaving a like. If you want more videos like this, subscribe. That's all. Until we meet again, whether it's on this plane or another, have a wonderful day.